This time for sure, right? Right? This week, we're going to preview, and then on Monday, review a Chiefs victory. Statistically speaking, I think we almost have to. This is not a joke, the thing I'm about to say. And I know that's alarming because so often I say hilarious, funny jokes. This one's not a joke. On the Chiefs Radio Network pre-show plan call that we had yesterday, I told the wonderful Chiefs Radio Network crew, who's just been a dream to work with, including KCSO's Nick Springer, but an incredible crew to work with. They've been great. And I told them, look, guys, I know what the records show. I know it was a winless preseason, and then losses to what I think are pretty good Chargers and Eagles teams. But if the Chiefs lose to the Giants and you need to fire me to make an example, to make a change, to fire up the locker room, I am willing to fall on that sword. I'm not walking away on my own volition. But if a change has to be made, and I get the call on Monday, Chiefs are 0-3, and I get the call that tells me to bring in my playbook, bring in my headphones, I guess. I don't know, I brought my own headphones, so that's probably not the one. Turn in my key card. Then maybe I have to do it. I've really enjoyed the Chiefs Radio Network job very, very much. Great people. Been very happy with the shows. Been happy with everything except for the Chiefs winning. And guys, it's more fun when the Chiefs win. I guess this show could also take some of its blame. This show has never talked about a Chiefs win, despite starting shortly before the eve of the first week of NFL action. But this game against the Giants is going to be the one. Right? First of all, thank you, Jackie Moon, in the chat saying new lighting, and then Renee noting that will mean more to me than you could possibly imagine. Oh, I'm sorry. Tucker said that meant more to me than you could possibly imagine. That's true. Tucker and Renee both know me equally well. I care about the lighting in here and the camera setup in here so much. I'm trying to make this show, if nothing else, I want this show to have aura. Is that right? Is that what the kids say? You know, I grew up on swag. Now it's aura, which I think is better. I really don't like, quote-unquote, must-win games. Unless it's in the playoffs, or really close to the playoffs, your so-called must-win game probably isn't. It's probably not. There is a world where the Chiefs could lose this game on Sunday and win the Super Bowl. That could happen. They could lose to the Giants. They could be 0-4. Now, the odds start getting real nasty around there. They could lose to the Giants, then go lose to the Ravens. They could be a wild card team, and if you told me Patrick Mahomes went absolutely maniacal as a wild card team in the playoffs, marched all the way to the Super Bowl, and snatched that Lombardi trophy right back for Travis Kelce to ride off into the sunset with it, that could absolutely happen. If they lose to the Giants, I'm not going to be able to come in here on Monday and give you a funeral dirge and bury the team officially. That's not quite right. But I really like what Tom just said in the chat. Must-win game from the perspective of vibes. Will be impossible to recapture the vibes. I think that's right. I think this is a must-win vibes game. Because imagine Monday. I have learned over the years, all of us have learned, I don't think this is wisdom from the top of the mount necessarily, but I think watching the Chiefs closely over the years, I think we've all learned the benefits of not overreacting. Week to week, year to year even, the core of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Brad Veach, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Steve Spagnuolo, the core 9, I think I got through most of them there. The core has earned your trust, and the results have earned your trust. And I also think we haven't done this show since Chargers Raiders on Monday Night Football on Monday. I know that seems like a million years ago. It was ending week 2, and now we have started week 3 of NFL action. But I thought the Chargers looked pretty good against a Raiders team that was pretty good against the Patriots, who seem probably decent, probably feisty. That's kind of the middle class of the NFL. The middle class of the NFL is feisty and huge. There are a couple of teams that are going to live in the basement, and there are a couple of teams who are going to live in the penthouse, and then there's a big middle class. I think what the Chiefs can do on Sunday night is cement themselves in the middle class, or be kind of hanging out in the stairwell between those middle apartments and getting up to the penthouse again. If you're 0-3, you're going to spend the rest of the season fighting through the muck of the NFL, where every game is a little more important. I love Nate Taylor, but man, I hate it when he says real football doesn't start till Thanksgiving. You know what I'll say, Nate? Assuming there's a very good chance he hears this at some point. Maybe right now. That's a privileged take. It is. It is a very privileged thing to say, real football doesn't start till Thanksgiving. And the Chiefs have been able to be that privileged over the years because they've won the games ahead of Thanksgiving. Look at what Buffalo did last night. Now, I never thought the Bills were going to lose that game, but a roughing the kicker penalty and then the fourth quarter playing out the way that it does, that was a legitimately close game all the way through that moment. That's the truth of the NFL, is that in Buffalo, with the top team in the AFC as things stand, and maybe the worst vibes in the AFC as things currently stand, those two teams meet at the better team's home field, but it's Thursday night football. Things get weird. The Bills should not be, I don't know what's going on in New York right now, in New York Sports Talk Radio. Bills Talk hosts should not be panicking about a game that was close until the end against the Miami Dolphins. Maybe that exploited some things that are legitimate problems for Buffalo, but they shouldn't be apologizing for the win, which is something that I think we talked about off and on throughout last year, and that Panthers game was the win you apologize for, right? The win that, well, really, the team's better than that. Better than a win? Yeah, that's where the standard is. Right now, perhaps much to Nate's chagrin, right now, the results matter starting immediately. And that's partially looking ahead to Baltimore, a game that I am not terribly optimistic about an entire week removed. Maybe I'll feel different this time next week. But the season doesn't end if they lose to the Giants. I think the optimism does. The blind faith optimism, total trust, perhaps, I'm not sure. And to be clear here, I don't think there is an enormous chance of the Chiefs losing this game. Football's too weird to say, like, I'm coming in and guaranteeing a victory. I wouldn't do that for Chiefs-Browns right now, because it's sports weird. I have a couple of things that we'll talk about today that I'm nervous about, the ways that I could see the Giants winning this game. I don't think they're going to, but I'll tell you how I think it happens if they do. Ultimately, it's a stop the skid kind of situation. In the grand scheme of things, since Friday night in Brazil went final, I think Friday night in Brazil, Saturday morning in Kansas City was probably the worst I've felt through these 2 weeks about this football team. The defense was much better against Philadelphia, like fundamentally better, and fundamentally better. The offense has problems that we'll keep talking about. We've been talking about all week. The run game is not productive right now. Will they change some things? We'll find out on Sunday. But they just need to win this game, and I'll be okay. And then I won't have to offer to resign from any more jobs. I think if they win one game, I think at that point I'm no longer cursed. There's kind of a good news, bad news element of it, too, that I have going into a little bit of optimism here. And at some point, I'm going to catch up on some comments, because I've seen a couple go by that I'm very interested in tapping back into, but I know myself. If I start reading the comments, I'm going to miss my next 3 points. They're just not going to happen. The good news, bad news deal is that I think the Chiefs' performance against the Eagles and Chargers, you copy and paste those exact performances in this game against the Giants, and I think the Chiefs are still winning this game against the Giants. Now, look, maybe all of the secondary busts against Los Angeles, maybe that would have been enough for Russ to find his weapons, which we'll talk more about how he is going to try to quarterback this game in a little bit. Maybe that would have been enough for the Giants to score 30 points. The version of the defense we saw against the Eagles, I feel much, much better about. Even with the issues in the running game, and even with a terribly timed drop by Travis Kelce, even with these fine moments that change the game, and all of them seeming to fall away from the Chiefs this year after so many of them fell towards them last season. Even with all of those flaws, that football team, that version of the Kansas City Chiefs, is in a better place than this version of the New York Giants. The bad news is I can't be wrong about this. The Chiefs can't let me be wrong about this. You cannot play down to your opponent in this instance, because they got to have this one. I think it's kind of simple. The specifics that go into this game, as we'll talk about, Tucker will come in and we'll talk more about some of the things we're looking for in particular. Tucker totally forgot to put down for a graphic for One Worry, One Wish again. This is the first time I've thought about it since we did it on Friday. We don't need a graphic for it.
I got it.
You got one?
Already. I already got it, yep.
Look at you.
I worked ahead.
Tucker's more dialed in to what I wanted to do than I was. I haven't written mine down yet. We're going to come up with them. I know what they are. We're going to find them. I just completely forgot until this second that we have one recurring bit on this show right now, and I had forgotten about it the 2 times it was supposed to recur. What are you going to do? I saw this comment here. It's kind of rolling through here, like where Tucker said vibes are out at an all-time premium. Renee said she's set out so many vibe traps trying to recapture wild vibes. This is going back to Tom's comment about a must-win game from the perspective of the vibes. Renee asks, and Tucker put it on the poll. Here's our first poll question of the day, unless you've already done it and I just missed it. Are you a vibes hunter or a vibes gatherer?
Yeah, good call.
Hunter-gatherer for vibes. Tucker's got it on the poll. I did see then from somebody said they were a vibes voyeur, which I really liked. Sorry I missed whoever said that.
I believe that was
I was going.
Renee.
I don't think so. I thought somebody else said they were a vibes voyeur. Maybe not.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Now there are too many comments. I gotta start. There we go. From Todd. Todd said vibes voyeur, hashtag only weird games.
Oh, there we go. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
We don't have a cult name for this show yet, which maybe we don't need. Maybe we don't need cultists. Maybe in fact we need fewer cultists. I don't know. But let's not make cultists what people who enjoyed this program are. But Clint says, I dig the AES vibes in here. I often miss that show. I'm happy to think that as a spiritual successor here, manifested in everything else. Clint, you couldn't be more right. Lots of things are different, obviously. Tucker is a carryover. The color scheme is very similar. And I'm here for it to be little wacky. Very much a spiritual sequel, spiritual successor to those vibes. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we just... Also, Jackie mentions that Nick Jacobs had a great rant on the run game. He did. I thought Nick absolutely crushed that. Maybe this is the deciding factor. Maybe we need to be vibes hunters or vibes gatherers. I think vibe hunters is pretty good. I don't know.
Strong. Strong.
Lee87 says disciples of Brisco. No. Mike Denny says Brisco lights. No.
Those are all cult names. I believe that those are all cult names.
I don't want Brisco Kool-Aid enjoyers. Although my Kool-Aid would be at least sugar-free. I can at least tell you that. Oh, Mike Denny. The briskets. It's very Kansas City. Mike, that's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
I'm incredibly uncomfortable with my name turning into a form of acolyte. I think that's what keeps me from wanting to be a cult leader. But the Brisquettes is extremely, extremely funny. Tucker's been in the show already. Let's take our first break of the day. Maybe our only break if it goes like Monday's show did. Let's take a break. Tucker's going to get in here on the video side. We'll talk a little bit more about what I think Russell Wilson can still do to hurt this team on Sunday. And if you Brisquettes want to vote on the poll. I can't say that with a straight face, man. That can't be it. I'll think about it, but that can't be it.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. You know, something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. The good news is you don't have to wait much longer because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with the sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Tucker's here. Tucker's actually at the KCSN studios. You can see little NFL Blitz in the background right now. Man, I love it.
Yeah, it is good. It is a really good setup here. You should just turn on and play it. That's what I should do.
I did that during, I think I did that for a good chunk of the Only Weird Games that we did there. Because I'll tell you what, especially in person, those two just don't need me for a whole lot. They can pretty much handle their business the way that they do. Tucker, before we go to the specifics of Russ and all of this, where do you stand vibes wise in terms of this, like the idea of a week 3 NFC must win game against an 0-2 football team?
Well, I think that the vibes could be higher. The vibes could be higher in this for this game. But look, this is a place that Matt Verderman and I talked about this on that football show that came out this morning. We did a live lookup of the Chiefs' record in the Meadowlands. Josh, they've never won in New York playing the football Giants. That's a little concerning. This is a little concerning.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I think that the vibes could be higher. And as a self-proclaimed vibes conservationist in the chat is what I called myself.
That's good for you. That's good stuff. Okay, I go ahead.
I was trying to think of like a Department of Conservation type of because I think Todd brought up like if you're a vibes hunter, does that mean you have to go through is there like a gaming council that you have to do for
right?
Vibes,
Do you need a vibes license?
Right, and that's when Renee brought up. It depends on if you're a vibes hunter or a vibes gatherer.
Got it.
Which, by the way, vibes hunter leading the poll as of right now, 58%. Make sure to get your votes in. I'll keep.
I think I narrowly prefer that too.
Yeah, vibes hunter is a lot more. It's more aggressive than vibes gatherer seems passive. That means that you're
Yes.
gathering the vibes that come to you, that come your way. You are cultivating the vibes as a hunter.
I couldn't agree more.
And that is vibes talk. But I do think that the Chiefs do need to beat this Giants team. This is a Giants team that, weirdly enough, has a really good defensive line, but they just don't have very good pressure numbers. They've played a pretty decent offensive line, in the Cowboys last week, but I mean, they were never really around Dak. Like they didn't really get home to Dak. So I think that that's interesting to see. Maybe this is the week that Dexter Lawrence wakes up because he's going against Kingsley Suamataia, and that could be not great. But we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But I think that this game is very vibes dependent, right? Like I think that there's going to be a lot of I think there needs to be good vibes going into it, and you kind of have to have good vibes coming out of it. And here's the thing, Josh. Again, Matt Verder and I talked about this on that football show. It's the clip that I led the podcast with because I asked Matt if it was a must-win or a can't-lose, and he said, "I don't care how you frame it. You got to be 1-2 after this." And
Yep.
that's the way to look at it.
You know, the one, for me, a long-lost one who got away, by the way, will be right there, smack dab in the middle of that Giants defense. My man, Raheem Nunez Roches, Chiefs legend, who has just, done nothing but have a productive NFL career since he just kind of disappeared from the Chiefs at the time. Yeah. I'm happy for him. He seemed like an absolute hoot. It seems like a locker room guy, and also I think he's starting for them technically. Yeah. I don't know what his snap percentage was, but
his nickname is Nacho too, which is also super sick. And spoiler alert, Tara and I have been thinking of Halloween costumes for this year for what I assume will be your annual Halloween party. Nacho has something to do with mine.
This is. I mean, I'm sorry. I think I alarmed you with going to a Slender Cobra. I could tell that I spooked you there because there is one potential Halloween costume involving nachos or the word nacho that immediately jumped to mind for me, and the idea of that being your Halloween costume sent chills through my body of pure electric excitement.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the one, but I think the chat also appears to be only picking on the one that I'm thinking of.
Well, I was going to dress up as Nunez Roches. That's what my Halloween costume was.
Yeah, you're just going to wear a Chiefs Nunez Roches jersey. I was gonna grab his snap counts here because I got here. He's played 20% of the snaps for the Giants. That's a rotational defensive lineman. That's important.
Shout out. Did you see Taker 2000's comment in the chat? I'm sorry, I'm derailing the show with this.
Which one? No, both together. Great.
Both of them,
Taker 2000 says, I farted massively in church one time and I got a good laugh, but it was in the kids' hour. Thank you, Seth Kaiser's burner account. Appreciate that.
I was going to say, is that Seth? He's doing children's time, sitting on the stoop with the children, talking to them about our Lord and Savior.
I feel like Seth would rip a beefer in a kid's hour. Yeah, I feel like that's...
Absolutely.
I feel like he's done that.
Peek behind the curtain here. He ate 2 sloppy joes before the show yesterday.
Jazz is out of town for a week and a half. And Seth popped into the StreamYard yesterday with a plate of 2 sloppy joes with cheese. And it was 4:40. The show's supposed to start at 4:45, so Nate was going to be on in 10 minutes. And so Seth shows up with 2 sloppy joes at 4:40. He's like, hey, I'm just going to wolf these down real quick. And I was like, really? Right now? You should never podcast hangry, which will be a topic later on in today's show, actually. You should never podcast hangry if you can help it. But I also wouldn't think you want to podcast after immediately inhaling 2 sloppy joes.
Yeah, that would be heavy on the old stomach. VF is epic in the chat said everything else, more like anything else other than that. And that is so funny to me. Your mom also said Uncle Tucker too, and I think that's it's kind of it's a little bit of a play on Uncle Cracker. I want to say you could.
There's no way that's what my mom was doing.
No, I know. What I'm saying is, I'm saying for me as a character name is because Uncle Cracker. I don't know if you know this, Josh. That's not his real name.
What?
Right, not his real name. It could be a stage name for me. and I'm kind of getting up there. I'm getting older now, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of reaching Unc status. So I think Unc Tucker is not actually. I think I've framed it as Tunk before. T, capital U, N C, Tunk.
And you think that's good for your brand?
No,
you think that's a good direction for you to head
in?
okay.
That's actually the opposite.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What else? Oh, let's do the Russ thing.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. All right, everybody, hold on. We're gonna reset here. You know what the Chiefs can't afford to do on Sunday? You can't let Russ cook. You might be thinking, Josh, Russell Wilson, what's he got left in the tank? I saw him for the Broncos, no good. I saw him with the Steelers, no good. I've seen him begin his tour around the NFL. His retirement party is going to last like 10 years. He's no good anymore, right? Wrong! Kinda. It does seem like they're eventually going to make the Jackson Dart move partway through the season, so I'm not like here to defend Russell Wilson being a comeback player of the year candidate. But right. If you're watching with us here live, look at this. If you're listening along the podcast feed, I'll do my best to explain it. Russell Wilson's next-gen stats passing chart against the Cowboys last week is hysterical. The final stats here compiled, and this was all tweeted out by Doug Analytics, at Doug_Analytics, just a good account that's on top of a whole bunch of things that I was looking through today. He threw 41 times, 30 completions, for 450 yards, 3 touchdowns a pick, was sacked 3 times. The 3 touchdowns are all moon balls. I'm sure I've seen this before. I just can't recall having seen this recently, and maybe just because this isn't the way the Chiefs offense has been working. Russell Wilson, one of his touchdowns in the next gen stats chart of like the dots of where his targets went, one of them completely leaves the frame. The arc of the ball is not contained on the football field because it was 50 yards downfield. His other touchdowns were almost 40 yards through the air, 35 yards through the air. And then there's a lot of shorter stuff and some things along the left side, a couple of boundary shots. But I feel like there is a pretty easy answer to the question, like, what can you not let the Giants do? And they're not a very good running team right now. They have talent across the offense. The thing you can't let them do is let Russell Wilson sit back there for long enough to wait and read and then pull the trigger on the trebuchet that he's slinging out there. Because even at whatever age he is right now, the deep ball is there. The deep ball is good, and so are the weapons. Malik Neighbors is a dude in the common parlance. The Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson of it all, you've got to be aware of who your threats are, and I think the matchups are kind of interesting for the Chiefs. I was talking to our mutual dear friend Matt Verderam last night for a show that I think is out now on his podcast feed, and we were talking about what you do with this plan, and I kind of liked his suggestion, which also may have come up on that football show. I can't remember. The too many wires have been crossed. My whole brain's in a blender.
Yeah.
You, Jalen Watson, you and a safety are double teaming Malik Neighbors today, and Trent McDuffie, you go deal with Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton or whatever. And hey, Russ, you got to beat us that way. I think that's a good read by Verderam. I think that's a good way of looking at it. The Chiefs, spoiler, the Chiefs aren't going to do anything all game. There's not going to be one strategy that Spags just rolls out there for 40 dropbacks if Russ has a similar day to what he had against, and that was overtime. So hopefully Russ doesn't have 40 dropbacks. But yeah, you're not going to just throw the same looks out there over and over and over again. But I think you have to make sure Neighbors doesn't kill you, and you have to make sure Russ doesn't have the time to take those deep shots that were so effective at times against the Cowboys. That, to me, is a question of pressure. Is the pressure getting there? And I think, I don't want to build the whole plan out of this, Tucker. I don't think this is a way you want to live your entire NFL season. But I think this is another one where you just dial up as many blitzes as you can throw at Russ. Just speed him up, make him dump it off, and you can live to fight another down that way. You can't give up a 60-yard touchdown over your head to Malik Neighbors because you only brought 4 and nobody got home.
And this isn't an offensive line that is like the Great Wall of China, right? This is an offensive line that is dealing with, I think, at least 3 injuries. Thanks, Glenn. This is dealing with at least 3 injuries. And I think they'll all be back with like Andrew Thomas and, as Kent called him, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, their center. I think they'll all be back because they've been limited in the 2 early practices. We obviously don't have the availability report right now. So this should be back, but I think this is very funny. If there's one team that they can copy and paste that report on, Matty Lane talked about this, that game play they did against the Eagles, it would be the Giants. Interesting enough, Josh, I do think there's a lot of Verder and I again dove into this on that football show. There's a lot of statistical categories that Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson have similarities in, which isn't great if you're a Chiefs fan, but the time to throw one. Right. The time to throw one is very interesting because Patrick Mahomes has the second shortest time to throw. Second, I guess shortest would be the right word.
I think that's right. Are you saying, just so I make sure I know, are you, in the second shortest time to throw, as in when he releases the ball, not in time to when he's pressured?
Yeah, I think it's just time to throw. Yeah, time to throw is
I think that makes sense.
Is the next gen stat I was looking at. The lowest is Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson, even though he has had those deep moonball touchdowns, he doesn't really get a lot of he's really getting the ball out of his hand quick. Now obviously having dynamic guys like Malik Neighbors, that does help. And it's going to be an interesting one because I do think that like if this pass rush is going to get home with 4, like this should probably be the offensive line you're able to do it against. If you should be able to get home with 4, but they haven't. So they're going to need to probably dial up some blitzes. Is 64% of the time blitzing a sustainable defense? No, it's not, especially when you have with the blitzes don't really get home either. I know Drew Tranquill had 2 sacks on the blitzes, and people were like, oh, look, he had 2 sacks, but like 2 out of like 64% of your snaps is not a great rate of return, but I understand like the pressure of affects things and everything like that. But I do think that the defensively, yes, to the point of like Russ, I think you really want to have Jameis in the second half of this game or last quarter of this game. Is like you want to get after him so much where they're like, okay, we can't really keep running this offense the way that we're running it right now. And look, the Giants have packages for Jackson Dart. Like, they ran those against the Cowboys where Jackson Dart was in the game, almost like a college-style offense of like, oh, sometimes this quarterback will – I think Kansas did this a couple of years ago, right? They had Jason Bean, and they also had Jalen Daniels. They ran a couple of packages with those guys when they were sometimes – now, I'm not saying they're putting Russ and Jackson Dart both on the field at the same time, but like they have different plays that they like those guys to run. So I do think it's going to be – this is the offense that the defense needs to I don't want to say get right because they played really well against the Eagles, and like that was the right defensive game plan. Like the defense played well. The defense wasn't the problem in week 2, rather week 1 it was. But this is the defense. This is the offense that the defense is going to need to kind of stifle, and they don't have anybody to beat them outside of Neighbors. Like I think Verderam's plan is like perfect for what it is. There's an old Belichick way to do things, and I think there's a reason Belichick is the guy that he is because he kind of knows defense a little bit. But I do think that like the defense is going to have to be the driving force. We're talking about vibes in this game. The defense is going to need to bring the vibes. You know what, Josh? Maybe a little bit. It's like if you win the toss, obviously you defer. But like I don't think you would be so upset if like the Giants won the toss and they took the football. I think the unit that you want out there first, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, to set the tone, is the defense. The offense has not done a very good job of setting the tone. I think the defense will set the tone a lot better.
All right, let's get to one worry, one wish, because in the midst of you talking there, I learned what both of my worry and wish were. And I'm going to start with my wish, and I'm going to piggyback exactly off of what you just said. I am wishing, and this is, well, I'm just going to say it and trust that people are listening, and it will continue listening 3 seconds after I've said it. I am wishing for a proper podium game from the CEO of Sack Nation, and truly just Sack Nation. I would like to hear from the nation of Sack just how they feel about how things are going geopolitically. I'd just like for Sack Nation to get back here to the UN, just chime in, give a little report on how things are going.
Yep.
My couching here is that this isn't a Chris Jones take. It's an everybody else take. And there are moments where I'm willing to bend a little bit on like, yeah, no, I mean, if Chris Jones like just totally solo pressured and got a sack on somebody, that would be great. But he tried to do that in the last play of the game against the Chargers. Obviously, he bailed from what his responsibility was there. We've litigated this already.
Yeah,
I would be happy for it to just be a dominant Chris Jones game. But you mentioned, hey, here's an offensive line you should be able to get right against from the defensive ends. That was also true about Trey Pipkins in week 1. Obviously, Joe Alt is legitimate. But Trey Pipkins was supposed to be food for this defensive end group. And I don't really care if it's Karlaftis or Minahu. It seems unlikely that we'll get Mike Dana. Just he hasn't practiced so far, as we know. And maybe if he's out there today, maybe things change. And you probably don't get Christian Fulton. So another, Jalen Watson again with if it's the neighbors plan. Wan'Dale Robinson went 8 for 142 on 10 targets against the Cowboys. Dude. Russ was throwing bombs, man.
What year was
all three, Neighbors, Robinson, and Slayton all ended up with more than 17 yards average per reception. It's nuts. Darius Slayton had 2 for 61. One of them was 50.
I think that probably tells you how bad the Cowboys defense is.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess I hope so. And you're right, because I do want to give the Chiefs defense the credit for what they did against Philadelphia, so I think this is going to work out. But I am wishing for a 4-man pass rush to be enough in this game. And not entirely, but like I would like to see a normal blitz package be enough to just keep the Giants' head spinning offensively. So that's what I'm wishing for. What are you wishing for?
I wish that Kareem Hunt would turn back the clock and turn into 2017 Kareem Hunt.
I like
that's
this
what
a lot.
I wish. These wishes can. I guess we don't really have rules in this segment. I guess a wish doesn't have to be necessarily attainable, but they need somebody dynamic running the football. They need somebody, and whether that's Brashard Smith. I know you guys are probably saying Brashard Smith. He should run the football. He's probably not going to get a lot of carries in this game if he does even get one. But they got to figure out the run game, man. They have to figure this out. Every good football team in the NFL has a good run game. And it is impossible to put as much as they are putting on Patrick Mahomes and expect this team to go back to the AFC title game. Like, that is not sustainable. It is impossible to expect this team to get where they want to go while having Patrick Mahomes being your leading rusher, your leading passer, and he will probably be the leading receiver too. I know that like the circumstances have not been great in terms of the receiving weapons, and there's a lot of things outside of their control, suspensions and injuries, like those things are outside of their control. But man, what was in their control was trying to get this running back room to be a little bit better than it was this offseason. Can't do anything about it now. Like, that's the thing. Like, you got to do with what you got to do with right now. So I wish that Kareem Hunt would turn back the clock and we have a vintage Kareem Hunt 2017 game. Remember when he went off? Like, that might have been 2018 week 1 against the Patriots, right? When he had that insane game, or was that? I think that was 2018. I'm gonna see that.
I think you're probably right. I'm terrible at remembering what years things happened in.
Yeah, same. I don't even know what year I graduated high school. That's not true.
I had to think about the T-shirt that I helped design to remember that it was 2013 for me. I have to think about college even longer. Yeah. This is why you're not Unk yet. I am slightly older than Patrick Mahomes and Juju Smith-Schuster. That's my exact demographic. Who are you in the Chiefs wide receiver room, or anyone really? Figure out. I will always be roughly the same age as Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to use that to just sort of track the way that I age going throughout the future here.
That's a good.
I'll tell you what. Neither of us are Unk status for podcasting or radio or anything like that. We got to remember that we have youthfulness in some form and fashion.
That's true.
We're still young by KCSN standards.
I'm the same age as Mike Caliendo and Mike Dana. Christian Fulton. Oh boy.
I love see it's about like the health of those players really starts to reflect on you, thinking like, oh man, well, wait, where am I?
Elijah Mitchell's the same age as I am. That's a tough look for me. I'm inactive every week. Jawan Taylor?
See, but like
that
running
one
back
shook me.
Which one?
Jawan Taylor.
Jawan Taylor's the same age as Mike Dana?
Yeah, Jalen Watson. I'm the same age as Jalen Watson. Wow.
Go scroll through a roster sometimes, folks, and figure out who you're the same age as. It really does change your perspective on that. I mean, as I have obviously, like, as tends to happen, I have gotten older, and I've done that while covering the Chiefs over this last, like, decade or whatever. So I have really gone through this. Like, when Kelsey retires, it's gonna be like, oh, okay, so I now start counting, like, how many players I'm not older than. And that list is getting... I need James Winchester out there for as long as possible, man. You keep getting that money. Keep getting that money and longing those snaps.
Drew Tranquil's 30.
All right, here's what I'm worried about. Okay. Who's 30?
Drew Tranquil.
That makes sense. I think it's the guys who have only been in Kansas City seem younger to me, like Dana and Jalen Watson and whatever. Because, like, well, I remember when they were rookies, when they were just young boys coming into the NFL. When I was also a young boy. Now we're all old.
Kareem Hunt's 30 as well.
Now we're all on washed watch.
Yeah.
Here's my worry. Here's what I'm worried about. Okay, this is kind of a amorphous worry, but a very real one. And I can't remember if this is what we talked about on Weird Games or 5 Things or both. We definitely talked about it at some point yesterday, or in the future on the if it's 5 Things. I am a little worried that win or lose. I'm worried that they lose, right? That's the worry. That's the real worry. But I'm not actually, I don't know if I'm worried about it. The thing I'm worried about is that we come back in here on Monday and we go, all right, they're 1-2, and we didn't learn anything else. They're 1-2, and that's the team that lost to the Chargers, lost to the Eagles, beat the Giants. It's kind of the other side of the coin of what I said earlier, where I say, you know, the team that lost to the Chargers and Eagles is also a team that should beat the Giants. Yeah. I'm worried that we're not going to see anything new, anything refreshing, anything rejuvenating, especially on the offensive side. The defensive side brought you some rejuvenating things to believe in week 2. And maybe the losses are truly the thing that begin to kind of move the goalposts for me a little bit. Yeah. When you look at how long you have to survive without Rashee Rice, again, the team that just lost to the Eagles by 3 points, I think beats the Giants, loses to the Ravens, beats the Jags, and it's a toss-up against the Lions. Mm-hmm. Those are your 6 games, and then Rashee Rice comes back. I'd rather them not be 2-4. I think beating the Lions, being 3-3, having Rashee Rice come back, even if they do drop it to the Ravens, that feels great to me as things currently stand. I don't know. Maybe their next wrinkle is getting saved for Baltimore either way. But I am worried that we're gonna come back and go, yep. All right, well, it's been the same team for 3 games. Not a particularly fun or great team, but a pretty good team, and maybe they'll be great when Rice is back and Worthy is at full health. I need to see a little bit of refreshing, something a little bit new. I'm worried that we won't. That's my worry. What's yours?
My worry is going to be on the offensive line, and look, this is probably going to be my worry until like the end of time. I talk about this on 5 Things, so you guys will hear a little bit more about it. But there's a pretty good defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman specifically, who's probably actually the best interior defensive lineman in the league right now, truthfully, with Dexter Lawrence. He's very good, and he is going up against an offensive guard, if they're smart, that is not a very good offensive guard, in Kingsley Suamataia. Now, has he improved from preseason week 1? Sure, he is improved in some regards in those ways. I think that it would be unfair for me to say that it's been exactly the same. But what has stayed exactly the same is those legit, horrible, awful, nasty snaps where he just loses immediately. And we saw those last year when he was the left tackle. And we're seeing it again moved a few feet over to the right? It's still happening. And Dexter Lawrence, here's the thing, he's a guy that wins quick. Here's the thing about Kingsley Suamataia, he's a guy that loses quick. So that could be a real recipe for disaster if you have one of those really bad snaps from Kingsley and a really good snap from Dexter Lawrence. I worry for Patrick Mahomes, because if Patrick Mahomes is doing a play-action pass in that regard, and he's got his back to Dexter Lawrence, doesn't even get his head turned around in time, that could be a problem. So I know that Kingsley... this might be a little nuanced of a take here, Josh. I don't know if the internet will be able to handle this. I know that Kingsley has improved since he's gotten to Kansas City, right? He has improved. That's no doubt. He's improved from week 1 to week 2. And I'm sure he'll improve from week 2 to week 3. But sometimes you are what you are, right? And there are still, as I mentioned, those disaster level snaps, those really quick losses that you can't really live with on the interior of the offensive line. I'm worried that when does enough become enough? Like, when do they pull the trigger? When do they say, hey, maybe let's throw Jalen Moore in there? And Jalen Moore hasn't really played guard. So like that, you're putting yourself in about, when does Mike Caliendo get in there, right? Maybe that's the fix. So like Mike Caliendo is, no offense to Mike Caliendo, is Mike Caliendo. And he's not Joe Tooney. And I thought this was interesting. Verder and I talked about this. I think it was Monday's show that we talked about it on That Football Show. He said a rare player for player trade that he would do with he'd do it with the Commanders. Austin Eckler is out for the year with the popped Achilles. He would send Pacheco to the Commanders for Nick Allegretti, straight up player for player, and have Nick Allegretti become your left guard. Now I do think that's a bit reactionary. With look, we.
I love Matt. I wouldn't do that trade. I'm gonna go ahead and decline that from my side right now.
That's fair because who's your running back?
Right.
Kareem Hunt's your running back one. I think that's a very fair question in that trade. But look, would you send a future 6th or 7th if they have it still? Maybe this year's 6th or 7th to the Commanders for Allegretti or Andrew Wiley, who's just sitting on the bench over there? Maybe. Like, if it gets to that point where we have to have that conversation, that's what I worry about, right? This is kind of similar to the Casey Lab does a segment, and it's intrusive thoughts. It's like half-baked thoughts that you definitely have and like you think about, but you're not really sure that like they're fully there and that like you're worried about them. That's just kind of like an intrusive thought of just like, okay, what if it's not okay, right? What if Kingsley still does have all that? So that's what I'm worried about.
I think that's a totally fair worry, and I think most of those questions you asked will end up getting answered closer to the trade deadline, and then because that gives you a slightly larger sample size too. Because like it wasn't beautiful stuff against Jalen Carter and the Eagles, but it wasn't game-wrecking stuff, and I think you're right to really focus on those quick losses because I know we've covered this a million times across several different shows like on this network, but you die a slow death and you can survive as a guard at the NFL level. Most of the league right now is compensating for a weak link on their offensive line somewhere. The Chiefs have 2 right tackles that they don't, they haven't made a final decision on presumably, or at least Juwan Taylor's is still the incumbent there. You mentioned Jalen Moore. I find it fascinating that Jalen Moore played no guard in the preseason and very, very, very little in training camp, if memory serves. But all of his preseason snaps were at right tackle. I don't know if that's Juwan Taylor knee insurance or Juwan Taylor penalty insurance or performance insurance or why that ended up being the strategy. But he wasn't repping at left tackle, which obviously Josh Simmons is the long-term answer there. You certainly hope that continues going the direction it is. So I think it's a totally reasonable worry, and I hope that on Monday they go, hey, you know what? Maybe Kingsley might have had a rep or 2 that he wants back, but 1 or 2 is very different, honestly, than 3 or 4, much less the kind of things that were getting him benched early last season. This has been very, very football focused. I'm really proud of us, even as I can't stop watching the NFL Blitz demo that's playing over your shoulder. Let's get wacky with it. Let's go ahead and hit the everything else because I have a piece of news I just want to share with everybody. You can eat whatever you want for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't think I've gotten to talk about this in an audio form other than I know I've told Tucker about this. I know I have sent this to the extended chat at times because I just think this is important. When Renee and I had our honeymoon, we went to Europe and traveled around, and we did London and Barcelona and Paris. It was great. But you might think, Josh, so what was your favorite part? Was it the things you got to see? Was it the art? Was it the Eiffel Tower? Was it going to a FC Barcelona game? No, the thing that stuck with me most from the honeymoon was at our hotel in Barcelona, just outside of Barcelona. They had this like huge breakfast spread that I think about all the time because part of their huge breakfast spread at this hotel in Spain was just a charcuterie meat section, meat and cheeses. You've got your croissants over here. You've got every type of cured meat you could ever ask for over here. And you've got your, your fruits or yogurts and your sweet pastries and all that other stuff. Right. But what that has opened up for me, and I did this morning, and you may be wondering, Josh, how did you decide to talk about this today? Is that I didn't have everything else I really wanted to talk about today, and I was hungry this morning. What I have gotten into the habit of doing now, and this just, I'm sorry if this doesn't pass the sniff test. I'm sorry if you need to call and complain about my hot take. This makes me feel better than most people.
Wow.
I feel like I have an air of superiority that comes from my ability to grab a slice of sourdough bread, throw down a little bit of cured meat, a little spicy salami, a little chorizo kind of deal, throw that on there, maybe throw a little slice of cheese on top of it, put that baby in the air fryer, wait 5 to 10 minutes. That's breakfast. You can just do that. I love a frozen breakfast sandwich. I do. I am certainly not above a frozen breakfast sandwich. In fact, in a deeply, deeply shameful moment, my plan A for breakfast today was that I thought that there was one more breakfast sausage corn dog thing in the freezer that I couldn't find. So maybe it's not in there. This, I believe, was a Jimmy Dean product. It is a breakfast sausage wrapped in essentially a fried pancake. I'm not making nutritional arguments here. This is not life advice that way. This is about starting your day off with a little bit of nutrition and international flair that just gets you going the right direction. You have yourself a couple shots of espresso. You have a little charcuterie on a little piece of sourdough, and there's just not a better way to start your day, elevating your morning experience. Treat yourself. Yeah. You're worth it. Have charcuterie for breakfast.
Wow. Yeah,
that's my take.
I think that's where I thought you were going to go with you can eat whatever you want for breakfast. It was like, oh, yeah, that leftover chicken breast you got in there? How's it? Which I do that all the time.
Welcome to. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you're still challenging those norms, you never had cold pizza left over in your fridge? That's the breakfast of champions.
Great point. I think VF is epic has a comment here. Counterpoint, you can get 60 taquitos from Sam's Club for $13. So if you really want to feel a little bit ethnic, there you go. 60 taquitos. One time.
That's not. That's not it. That's not right for sure.
One time
I've made 100 throat slashing motions over 100 cut motions, and nothing's changing. That's still out there.
Yeah, I don't have a dump button. Maybe I can get one of these.
No.
Anyway, I was on a fish stick kick one time, and
I
ate a whole box of fish sticks, and I haven't eaten fish sticks since. That was like a year and a half ago. I ate 24 fish sticks in one sitting.
Are you doing the South Park thing, or do we have an enunciation problem?
Fish sticks. Fish stick.
Yeah, that's right.
Fish sticks.
Man, this might be the first time this show ends early.
I'm glad you guys are laughing. I need another.
I think you can eat whatever you want for breakfast. I think, however, it opens
White Monster?
your.
Can you eat that for breakfast?
You said right before the show that you were sipping on a warm, what I imagine is a lukewarm energy drink. I'm professionally drinking hot energy drinks because that's just what coffee is. But I assume that's not what's happening. You and Jordan Foote keep talking about your love of White Monster energy drinks, and it is. Renee said, "Oh man, Uncle Tucker's just kind of like that." That's the thing about Uncle Tucker. Sometimes he says things that you wish he didn't say, and then but they're just out there in the internet.
Sometimes I wish things I didn't say and say things I don't wish. Both of those things can be true. I'm a big energy drink on an empty stomach for breakfast guy. That's my breakfast 95. Thank you, Mrs. Brisco. That is my breakfast 95% of the time. C4 Jolly
This
Rancher Green
isn't,
Apple, banger, by the way. Shout out, chat.
Not before noon, right? You can't drink a Jolly Rancher green apple flavored C4 at 9 a.m., right?
Here you go. VF is epic. Sorry for my conduct earlier. I had 2 white monsters earlier, and I allowed it to create a third. That is my official statement from my previous statement. I had 2 white monsters, and I allowed it to create a third. Gosh. I'm so tired.
My mom says I've had 3 ice cream cones already today. The benefits of being type 1 diabetic and wrestling with low blood sugars for the last 3 hours. Maybe I've been doing diabetes wrong, because that does sound delightful. Oh,
I do think we do need to have the diabetes conversation. I know you wrote it down somewhere about us having like the ask AMA diabetes edition. Yeah.
I think this is a very good idea. That I want to make sure we spend enough time on. I will say either that's either a bye week or maybe like if the Chiefs lose to the Giants, we just don't talk about it. Maybe maybe the whole show. Sad fans and 45 minutes of diabetes questions.
You know what I think would be really funny, and this is a bit I had prepared for Roughing the Kicker back in the day, and it never got to use it. There was a stretch there where like it was looking pretty bleak for the Chiefs, if I remember correctly, and this might have been year 2 of Roughing the Kicker, where I had completely rebranded the Roughing the Kicker like branding to be a Toronto Argonauts podcast, because I was going to switch from covering the Chiefs to the Argonauts, and we could just come in and just completely rebrand. It's instead of the Chiefs and everything else, it would just be like, FC Barcelona and everything else. We could just come in and soup, like not missing a beat and being like, yeah, well, tough match last Sunday.
Tough match out there on the pitch.
Yep.
2-0 blowout. That's a great idea. That is an exceptional idea. I think we should file away in the exceptional idea folder. All right, well, I really can't possibly think of a way to put this show back on rails enough to get it into a proper outro. Is there anything else from you here, Tucker? I think the Chiefs are going to win. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I just want to shout out everybody in the chat hanging out. Rachel, Clint, Kyle, Jackie, your mom, your wife.
Whoa, hey, watch it, bud. Oh, no, you're right, my actual mom.
Yeah.
You get it, though, because it's like, if you're like, I saw your mom in the chat, it's like, hey, shut up. But in this case, it's real. It's funny.
Shout out Julio816. Thank you.
Was he the one that gave you the clear?
Yeah, what did you say? I was trying to use the same verbiage that you said, but like I feel.
I did not say that this
cultural. And
I did not say that this breakfast makes you a little ethnic. That's definitely not what I said.
You said something about eating meat and cheeses overseas or something like that. And you make me feel like
no, Tucker, there are a lot of things I could have said. Multicultural, more culturally aware. I don't know. I'm still what I am.
Yeah, I see. Look, that hand up.
Oh,
guys,
no, is my breakfast cultural appropriation?
Hand up. That one's on me. I picked the wrong word. Wrong word in my head.
It happens. It's live.
I'm going to tap my chest like every wide receiver who's dropped a Patrick Mahomes football has. That one's on me. That one's on me.
From KC Fan Dizzle. Topics up for discussion. Church farts with energy drink flavors. See, this is the YouTube title for this show when we're live always has like a Chiefy title. We might get to a point where where the podcast title is Church Farts and Energy Drink Flavors.
Yeah, look, or the podcast title's fair
Church
game.
Farts and International Breakfasts.
I've got an algorithm to appease on this here YouTube channel. Yes, the lack of meat flavored monster is an unforgivable oversight. Yeah, what if they just had like barbecue brisket monster? I'll take it.
Thanks, Clint. I've never disagreed with you more. Appreciate the comment. I hate it. Hate it. We're gonna get you banned. Actually, not banned. We're gonna put you in timeout.
Yeah.
They made a chili cheese dog flavored G Fuel.
I do remember that.
Did not try it.
I didn't either.
Don't want to
grab that one. But yeah, I got an algorithm to appease here on the YouTube, but podcast, man, that's fair game. That's fair game.
You just let it rip. All right, well, man, if the Chiefs lose, we're gonna have a bad day on Monday, but they're not gonna. It's gonna be okay. I'll have pregame coverage starting 3 hours before kickoff here on 96.5 locally at the Chiefs Radio Network all throughout, and then I'll be around halftime. I got postgame. KCSN's got postgame. We got you covered regardless of how you're operating, plus 5 things around the corner. All the stuff you can get on the KCSN Chiefs podcast feed. Also, this may be a useless thing to say at the end of an episode of this show, but I've had some people be like, hey, I can't find this show. If you're watching on video and you don't have the podcast feed set up yet, it's on a standalone feed. So just search for Everything Else with Joshua Brisco. You'll find it there. If you're hearing this PSA on the podcast feed, good job. You didn't need this PSA. In the meantime, what was that?
I hit the. I meant to hit this one.
Now, Tucker, do you think you deserve that today?
Oh God, no.
We'll talk to you on Monday. Bye, Mom.